welcome. I'm Danielle Tucker. I am a professional singer. I'm one of the lead vocalists for the Mighty Untouchables. I'm also a vocal coach. And this is the Pandemic Proof Singer Series, where I interview the best singers that I know. And we're just chatting about what's going on in our careers and what we're thinking about for the future and just kind of how we're managing things during quarantine. And we just kind of here to spread some encouragement and inspiration and get to know the singers that are out there. And I'm really, really lucky tonight because I am joined by Rosy Dawn. She's a singer here in San Diego who I've had the pleasure of working with a couple of times. Um, she leads the Rosy Dawn Band, and you guys perform just about everything. And you're also the executive artistic director and founder of the Center Stage Children's Theater and Thornton's Youth Performance Ensemble. You were previously the music director for Pacific Children's Theater and also at La Mesa First United Methodist. And you've been teaching and performing here in San Diego basically for the last 20 years. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. So, what's been going on during quarantine? What have you been up to?
Well, it's been peaceful. It's been restful. I've, we're getting into kind of a longer period of time than I think we all expected to. So there's been, some highs and I don't want to say lows. I feel like I've really tried to stay really positive through this and kind of grateful because we all have experienced this quarantine differently.
Mm-hmm.
I've been fortunate that I have had actually some downtime. I mean, it's sad that I can't do the work that I did because I'm not with the children. I don't get to perform, but I'm also not forced to go out and be with the public constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to stay home. So I've tried to use the time to do all of the things that I say I would do if I could just go up in the mountains, and be by myself and be super creative. So I have done some of that, but I haven't done as much of that as I maybe thought I would if I had so much time. So, so I've had moments where I'm like gotten into a really creative space and then I'm just like, oh, this all stinks. And then I just kind of walked away from it for a while.
I saw that you posted a song that you just wrote.
Right? I did. So that was kind of coming off of the not doing anything. And then just kind of, I do have this really awesome Songwriters book club that I joined several years ago, led by Eunice and Coltrist, anyone is welcome to join it. So if you're thinking about wanting to write a song or read more books, anybody's welcome to join. You don't have to be, there's no requirements.
Oh, cool.
Just have fun. So the good thing about that is that I was kind of not doing anything, but it forces you to do something because there's a deadline and so we've been meeting on Zoom. Mm-hmm. And so that one was kind of cool because we just chose a book of our choice based on kind of relevant topics at the time. I ended up choosing a children's book because I forgot about the book club and realized I had like a week and I wanted to read something. And I ended up really liking the children's book and it inspired the song. So yeah, that's how that happened.
Yeah. So. And you and in the video, your husband's playing guitar for you. Your
yes.
husband's a guitar player. Do you guys write together?
We do a little bit. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're learning to I think we're learning how to write with each other. We've done it a little bit off and on, but we sometimes I think we get impatient with each other because we know each other so well. Mm-hmm. So we have written a variety of songs together, but a lot of times like that song was kind of like I wrote the chords and I wrote the lyrics. I wrote most of it and then I said, hey, can you help me make this better? Mm-hmm. So he kind of helped with the arrangement of it and just making a little, and some good melodic ideas that he had. So when we do collaborate and do stuff together, it's much better than me trying to do it just by myself or vice versa. But okay. I think we're learning how to be more patient with each other because I think we have an opportunity to do more of that with each other. But.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
especially right now.
Definitely. I know.
Yeah.
It's funny that you said that because to me, I've always felt like um, people who are closest to me, my husband plays guitar, and um, people that I have a very, very close relationship with, it is harder for me to be more creative in that space because these people, I feel like they know me so well. And in my mind, when I'm like in the creative writing space, I'm kind of reaching into a part of me that I don't often,
Yeah.
expose to the world. And it just, I haven't gotten comfortable with that, kind of revealing myself that way to I don't know why I feel more comfortable when it's people that I don't know that well, but it's a weird dynamic.
It's so weird. And some people are really good at it.
Yes.
Some husband and wife duos do great at it, but it's a dynamic that we are still working on after years and years and years of,
Yeah.
I don't know. I noticed like I think we get a little like oversensitive. I know I get oversensitive and take stuff the wrong way. Or we misunderstand what each other's saying, which is so silly because we spend so much time together. So we should be like, oh yeah, I get where they're coming from. But I mean, you get it, you're saying the same thing with you and your husband. Oh, I'm not saying that you have that dynamic, but that it's just not as easy. Yeah.
I
I know.
definitely would.
I know. It's just trick. It's a weird thing. But I mean, I also feel at the same time, I'm like, well, we have all this time. Like, what better time than like right now?
I know. I know. And I think that it's one of those things that I think even if those awkward feelings, that's a good word for it for me. That describes my feelings at least. There is this awkwardness that I think you're just meant to push through it. I don't think that's something that should tell me or anybody that, oh, this collaboration isn't right because I have weird feelings. It's probably a good indicator that we can come up with something good. So I think during this quarantine, one of my big things is I'm trying to get better with being uncomfortable.
Oh, totally. Well, I mean, and that's actually a big reason why I've been joining the Songwriters book club, because I was like, I'm thinking I've written songs in the past when I was much younger, but with a little more collaboration from bandmates, and I've just never really considered myself a songwriter. But I mean, we're musicians and vocalists, and we have melodies and ideas in our head, and we hear stuff, and being able to come up with something that you said you did yourself is a really gratifying feeling. But I think it's also when you haven't told yourself yet that you're like a legit songwriter, it's hard not to hear all those voices saying, well, that just sounds like everything else you've heard. You're stealing something. That's not original, or those lyrics are terrible, or, instead of just forcing yourself to like, well, let me sit down and actually like really, really work on some better lyrics or better phrasing, or just keep re-editing this song and it will become something. Because that's part of how a song also, I've discovered, becomes better. It's just by doing it over and over again. And then it just becomes, it evolves into something that's,
definitely.
yours and is good, maybe just as good as something else out there, or not, but you did it. And you'll get better at the next one. So
I think that's great. And another thing that I just recently heard this, it was a songwriter talking about just kind of the different levels that we're on in our songwriter journey, and that a real professional or somebody who's really prolific at songwriting doesn't wait for inspiration to come to them. They go looking for it. They sit down and find it. It's kind of like, they don't wait for the muse to show up. They show up, and then the muse will come along. And I loved hearing that, because I think that I've used that excuse so many times where like,
totally,
in fact, my exact line is like, oh, I'm just not in that flow right now of songwriting. And that's basically just me being like, nope, I'm not doing it right now.
Right. You're just waiting for that inspiration to just drop down, and then it's going to be like the most amazing song.
A download, a divine download.
Totally. I know. Well, I mean, I'm the same, and that's why I'm like, okay, I gotta that's another reason why the book club was kind of good, because it was like, well, now you have to write something based on this book, even though there's really no rules, but it was like something, and then go off of that. And you know, I wrote some terrible songs, and then some have been maybe better than I recognize them to be. I don't know, but at least, you know, just I think just sitting down and just doing it, just acting on it gets better. Because I always say, what, you have to write 100 terrible songs before you end up really maybe writing a good one. So
Yeah.
still working on my 100.
Yeah. So you were a busy gigging singer, and I know you were working, you know, before all of this hit, and you are directing the children's group. So in March, what were you up to? What did you have going on when all of this
Oh,
came
well,
around?
it's funny because I was definitely at a place where I, with the children's theater, you know, they would have like their big performances and the run of like 2 weekends. So those were weekends where I wouldn't do gigs. So, you know, I would have less gigs, or there was actually a few weekends in there where I think I actually had like a children's production, and then I like raced to a gig that wasn't very far away. That was kind of crazy, but I did do that a couple of times. But right actually that what Friday before we were in our first kind of like lockdown shelter in place, we had we were getting ready to go into our second weekend of production for Aladdin Jr. So yeah, so the kids, of course, it was sad because the boy playing Aladdin, his grandmother had just flown out from the East Coast to see him.
Aw.
The girl playing Jasmine, her dad hadn't seen the first weekend, so he was going to see it. And there was a number of other kids in the cast who had the same situation. So um, it was sad, but I tried really hard to just kind of focus on the positive with the kids and say, hey, you know, you got to do one full weekend of performances. And there's a lot of theaters around town where they've been practicing up to this point and they haven't gotten to do anything. Also, one of the grandparents did do a video of the show, so that went out to all the families and they were able to watch that with their relatives that didn't get to, you know, come to the live performance. So so it's definitely sad, but there was, you know, that was the positive side that I tried to keep with it. And then on top of that, I think I had like 3 after school programs that were just starting up. So I had one group that, you know, they were really excited because we were going to do Peter Pan. And so they were just all super amped and they'd all gotten their parts. And I tried to keep it going by sending them like, here's a dance to learn. Let's have like a Zoom session. But that was right at the beginning of the whole thing. And the kids were just kind of let down by the fact that as we went through the weeks, we kind of realized, you know, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to be, because that was what, March. And so they were going to be performing in June. Mm-hmm. And then we realized like, yeah, this probably isn't happening. So that, and then I had another school also that was going to do the same show. And yeah, so we realized it just wasn't happening. So it was a bit of a letdown for the kids, but and then what's that?
I said it has to be. I in fact I just got an email today that CYT San Diego is closing their doors indefinitely. And I know, you know, that's tons of kids involved in that program, and just the heartbreak for kids, especially, you know, the real young ones who it's, you know, I've got 2 young kids, you have kids too, and it's such a hard thing to explain. They're having to learn these lessons of disappointment and the world being unfair, and learning resiliency so early on, and in a very what's the word I'm looking for?
Feels like a Twilight Zone type of lesson.
Yes. I mean, because it's something we as the parents haven't even
we're like, in our lifetime,
guide them through this. It's hard.
No, in our lifetime, we've never had anything this you know, wild happen on this level. You know, one of my former students who had participated in the theater, really great young girl, she had gotten the part of Matilda over at Junior Theater. So that was huge for her. She was so excited, and they had been practicing and they never ended up getting to do a live performance. They ended up doing like a little virtual thing. But so she really kind of learned that lesson early on of like being a performer and getting that huge letdown, like what you're saying. So
yeah, it's tough. And I know local San Diego people here know that the schools aren't going back everybody's going to be distance learning to begin with. I don't know exactly what's happening nationwide with all the schoolings. I'm sure there's similar things happening elsewhere. But what I do know from the singing teacher organization that I'm a part of, all the studies that have been done, and on like the collegiate level, many of them are not going back either because of
Yeah.
the, the way that the spaces have to be outfitted, to keep everybody safe. But I see that people are being very, very innovative right now with, what they're going to do. Um, what would you think for kids this year? What would be some good things to do besides, being a part of a theater production? Where do you think they should turn to at this point?
I know. Well, I'm constantly every day trying to think of like, how can I reinvent things? What can I do? I mean, I've even thought, can I do like theater classes outside, with 12 kids distance? But I've done summer camps where we're in the park and we do games in the park and then we come back. And that's always been it was challenging with like the noise and that kind of thing. So that's a tricky one. And, I know we've discussed, kids being on the internet for too long, because there are tons of great resources and there's plenty of things they could do, and even some virtual camps. But then again, it's more internet time, just like their school is internet time. So it's tough, and then you can't necessarily tell the parents, well, go do some acting games or some dancing with your children, because they might be busy working. So yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I really have a great answer for that one, but I am constantly kind of trying to think of what I can do and what I can offer. So if anybody has any great ideas and they think that my theater would be a good vessel for them, I'm definitely open to ideas on that.
I see a lot of cool things happening. And I guess it's really going to be a matter of like how well the kids take to it, and are they, even though it may be innovative, are they getting a good experience out of it? I've seen, like you said, kind of the taking a larger space and distancing everybody and doing something like that. One other thing that I've seen a lot of that I think is really cool is doing a virtual production where the kids, they have their script and you are meeting on Zoom to do rehearsals and everything like that, but then they actually film their own parts, and then everything is pieced together in the end, which obviously they don't have the interaction, but on another creative plane, at least they're they're learning how to self-tape and do things like that.
Yeah, they are. They're learning a lot of the kind of technical side of it. Well, we have done a little bit of that. I have a high school group that was set to perform in April, the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, and that's a cast of 9 kids. So luckily it's a small cast, so it's easy to deal with in that sense. And they're high schoolers. So we didn't want to say like, we're not doing the show, it's canceled, it's done, because like 3 of the kids in the show are seniors as well. So they're not going to be back at the theater after this. So we have been like having weekly Zoom sessions, and we did film all of the acting part in a kind of a Zoom style, so that the acting portion itself was actually simultaneous and together. And then the music we are doing, I had the kids actually record themselves in Band Lab, because Band Lab was offering like an education service. And that was really kind of a neat tool, because I actually felt like the kids were able to go in there, record their parts, hear them, and probably kind of hear what they were doing that wasn't correct, and then go back and re-record it. So I thought, well, that's kind of a good way. And then I would play like their vocal line and they could listen to it and get the parts that way. So yeah, it was a much slower process, but at the same time, I think they were really kind of training their ears better. And then I had them do that first because I wanted them to really get their parts down right. And now we're currently going in and everybody is putting their part in a cappella. And then they're going to send it back to me, and I'm going to edit it all. And then we're going to take each song and insert it into the acting portion that we've recorded on Zoom. So it's a bit of a tedious process. It's challenging, and I'm sure there's better ways to go about it. I'm just learning myself. and trying to do what I know, and Google searching and learning about this whole process. But we're hoping to have something finished, maybe next month, and then we can say we did it. We got to do our little show. Not quite how we planned, but kids got to do it.
That's great. And that's just it. You're doing it. You're making it happen for the kids. And I know that that's got to mean, the world to them when their options are kind of limited right now. That's a really big thing. I think I know you also do singing lessons, and everything, all the sessions that I'm doing right now are online. And of course, my advice with anybody of any age right now is to continue on with your lessons and your coaching and everything, even though most everything is online. Um, it's not it's not what it is like in person, but there's other advantages to doing it online. And the technology, even since March, has come
Mm-hmm.
such a long way, because as teachers and instructors, coaches, and everything have been in this furious scramble to make things better and optimize things. And so I've been really happy with the way my sessions work and everything, and it just seems to be getting better and better every day. So I really hope that the parents and adults out there, and don't stop pursuing things because of the conditions around us. But it is just kind of one of those times in life to be innovative and be as creative as you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I think some people are probably hopefully looking at it as the time to do those things they didn't feel like they normally had time for otherwise. I'm going to
Yeah.
start getting good at singing or playing guitar or writing or whatever it is. But yeah, you're right about the technology. And if somebody could just come up with an app that we can do live where there's no musical latency issues, they will be like the richest person on earth.
Yeah.
But,
Well, fortunately, there are some platforms out there. There's one that I'm getting more familiar with that is called Soundjack,
okay.
and it is it. I don't want to say it's complicated. It's really not. I mean, at first glance, it's kind of like, oh, that seems like a pain in the butt. But one of the first keys is going direct with an Ethernet cable, so bypassing the Wi-Fi thing and connecting directly to your router. That's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing. And then they have a very, very simple interface that you connect to. And it's kind of like a Zoom call, but each person on either end has to do a little bit of work um, dialing in their buffering settings and everything. So it
Yeah.
takes a little bit of practice back and forth. So I wouldn't recommend this for like a teacher and a 10-year-old on the other side,
Right. Yeah.
unless, hey, kids are techie these
Yeah.
days. But
Yeah, definitely.
it's worth putting in, the effort to get it figured out, because I think, once you have a little bit under your belt, but they've reduced the latency down to, oh my gosh, it's like point 0.8 milliseconds or
Oh,
something like
wow.
that. So it's not something that you would really detect too much. And then they have all of these other things too that have improved the fidelity of the music a lot. So the stuff's out there. It's just not as, it just doesn't seem as accessible to
Right.
everybody at the moment.
Not,
But I'm sure the more time that goes by, the more we're going to hear about it.
yeah. And especially as people want to keep collaborating and doing stuff in real time, that's a whole new door that will be opened for everyone. So
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. I'm hopeful about stuff like that. I
Yeah.
have some friends who have been doing a lot of testing. She's on the East Coast, and so she's got some colleagues out there, and they're doing calls and having three people on at a time, and it's pretty incredible. She's posted
That's so
some.
cool.
Her name is Eden Castile, and so if you go to
Okay.
YouTube and look up Eden Castile, she has posted the basically the experiments that they've been doing, and it's awesome to see. So
Cool. I want to check that out for sure.
yeah. I wanted to ask you, I noticed that you have a classical background in singing and have sung with the San Diego Lyric Opera. Um, so was that your first um, love or your first study of singing?
No, actually. So let's see. The first, really my first love of singing was actually, well, both my parents were musicians, but I was raised primarily by my mom. And we did a lot of like folk singing, and that's kind of how I learned harmonies. And then eventually in college, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I want to be like a dance therapist. And, you know, it's totally not what I ended up being. But I ended up studying music. But before that, I was in a few bands where we did covers. And then eventually I was in this more like kind of jam band where we did original music, but we played a lot of festivals and obscure songs by popular, you know, musicians, because some of their, you know, B-side stuff. So that was kind of my big background, was doing that kind of stuff and kind of, I don't know, hippie jam band music. That was really like my first real, you know, what I was kind of inundated with. And probably most connected to singing that type of stuff. And so then I went to college and studied classical music. And then when I went to San Diego State, I was still kind of trying to sing in bands and do the classical thing. And my teachers even sat down with me and they're like, you can't do both things. Because at the time, and I think teachers have changed a lot of voice teachers, they've realized that, you know, as to be a professional singer, you need to be super versatile. So you can't just be, you know, if you do want to go sing at the Met, then yes, you need to just do strictly classical. That's your life. But if you want to get jobs, and besides, you know, being a famous opera singer, you know, you need to be able to sing in, you know, a band. You need to be able to, you know, just do just about everything. So at the time, though, they weren't really thinking that way, those particular teachers. And so they're like, you need to focus on that, you know, to finish your degree. So I quit the band thing for a while and just focused on that. And then I sang with Lyric Opera, and then also sang with San Diego Opera Chorus downtown. And that was really cool because that was like a paid gig singing opera and met a lot of neat people. But no, I kind of came from it the other way. So I think, and then eventually I got to a point with teachers and with myself where I realized that the classical helped me to be a better vocalist in the bands. Yeah. Got some of that technique. But then when I kind of started back singing in bands again and kind of doing a lot of the pop music, I was kind of losing my voice a lot, which, you know, as a singer and somebody that's learned how to sing properly, you know, you don't even want to admit that to anybody that you're using your voice improperly. But I was having a hard time, especially with the pop music, because I hadn't really sung a lot of like that type of stuff. I'd sung a lot of like, you know, Janis Joplin and kind of beefier stuff, like in that sense, but not so much like the more contemporary pop songs like Bruno Mars and that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I went back to voice lessons to kind of work on that part of my voice, and it helped a lot. And it was all the stuff I knew already, but I needed somebody there to tell me and guide me and help me. Yeah. So
I was classically trained too. And I, of course, went down a totally different path in my musical life. So, I mean, I haven't been immersed in that since, you know, since college years. But what I think I feel the same way about you, where I love having the foundation of it, because I think in contemporary style music lessons, you come at the singing from a different angle. Mm-hmm. And the emphasis is on different things. And what I love with classical singing is you go through the body at a deeper level. You're working on and really gaining an understanding of the anatomy of singing, the science of singing, and so much more intricate work with, you know, what you're doing with your tongue, what you're doing with all of the resonating spaces of, you know, of your body. And, you know, those just aren't things that you forget. You know, you shift to the other genre and you make those adjustments to, you know, be more authentic with the genre and everything. But there's just some really great foundational skills coming from that. And I love having had that background.
No, I agree. And I think sometimes people misunderstand classical music and think, well, it's very mechanical way of singing because you're not like tied into you spend so much time on the technique, which is true. And I don't think, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever sat down with a pop song and spent nearly the amount of time that I have with a classical song that's in another language, you know, and making breath marks and elisions and, you know, vowel shaping and where I'm going to do. And, but then once you get it so ingrained in your body and then you're connected to the emotion and it feels, you know, your voice feels gigantic when you can sing in that type of style, that opera style. It's really kind of, you know, it's a different kind of a high, I guess, that you get from it. So there is sometimes once in a while when no one's here, I'll get out the old aria book and just, you know, I'm sure everything's incorrect at this point in my life, you know, from those days, but it feels good and it's fun. So
yeah, I know there are some, there's a piece from La Boheme that I'll sing sometimes, and I know my language and pronunciations are probably so far off at this point too, but I just love singing it just because of the way it just, you know, flows off the tongue and just the way you feel singing that way. It's, you know,
it's so beautiful. What did you, were you a mezzo or soprano? Or?
A mezzo, yeah.
You were. So was it, I'm trying to think what song is it?
Oh my gosh.
Actually, I don't know. I don't remember, like, I don't remember.
I'm trying to think of what the title is.
Yeah.
Mimi.
Okay, but that's for a soprano, isn't it? Because I think I started working on that to work on my higher range, something I never sang in public.
Yes,
but
that may have been why I was working on it too, because this was outside of school for me. It was with a private coach that I was working with, so that's possible why.
Same here. I was always kind of missed, like they never really knew. It was like, well, you're a lyric mezzo, or you're this, you know, which is, that's something different too. You know, they really like to categorize exactly what voice type you are, and this is exactly the rep you're going to do. Unlike what we do in cover bands, where you're going to sing, you know, Taylor Swift and Aretha Franklin. Like, really, like those are two totally completely different style, you know, ways of singing, or just voices, totally different voices. So
it is, it's a different animal altogether. But
yeah,
you know, there's definitely a lot of advantages to having had, you know, both styles too. I think you really get to understand the registers of your voice a lot better too. And I don't know, you really do kind of get to tap into so many dimensions of your voice and really get to know, you know, your instrument and what you're made of. And then if you can be versatile enough to kind of switch back and forth, you know, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, no, if you know how to access those parts, which I even, you know, even in my earlier years studying and singing certain songs, I never thought of myself as being able to access those higher parts of my voice until I worked on that particular song that you're talking about, which was outside of college as well. And then that actually helped me with the pop singing and having to sing some of the lighter, higher stuff. I realized, you know, so we're always learning, like, didn't just stop once I got the degree, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know it makes me think of, you know, at this point, singers going into school or trying to train in that capacity. I know that it's a lot trickier just because, especially if you're a soprano and you're trying to do a voice
More
lesson
competitive,
Zoom,
yeah.
and you're the sound peaking out, you know, on those high notes and everything. But I know that in the theater world and just in the classical music world, man, they're in a tough space right now, especially chorus choir singers. And that's, you know, that is really difficult. And so I'm so curious to see what they're going to be doing on a collegiate level with people who are music majors this year.
Oh, I know. I did see, speaking of platforms, technology, somebody just posted, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it's another thing that's coming out for choirs specifically, where they, you know, play the part and then you can upload it, and then, you know, eventually it all syncs, because again, I don't remember the name of it, but that's looks like it's going to be kind of a neat tool for choir directors. I mean, it's not, doesn't answer take care of every single thing, but it's a start. So
well, what are your thoughts for yourself musically? How are you thinking about going forward? Because obviously it's really difficult to predict when we're going to be back performing live. I mean, My hopes are that it's at least by the beginning of the year, but who knows? I mean,
I
things
know.
change every day. So I don't know if you're like me. I'm kind of in that space where I'm considering a lot of different things and exploring a
Yes.
lot of different things. And what are you thinking? What's in your mind?
I've definitely been thinking of like what other things in life I can do that aren't necessarily going to be running a children's theater or performing live, because the reality is that those are things are not happening, at least in the, maybe at the beginning of the year, maybe not till spring. I don't know when I can have like, children or audiences meet in under one roof
Right.
for a children's theater. So maybe I'll have to think of ways they can perform, I think I mentioned something earlier about them performing in the park or something like that. But I don't know, that's all kind of nuts with sound and everything. But as a singer right now, I think I want to focus on pushing and being brave about songwriting and just doing that stuff. And then, we have enough tools at home to put something decent on a track. Nothing, it's not going to be like having a full-on cool recording session with a bunch of, live players, but my husband plays guitar. He can play some other instruments. And he's been playing around with a lot of like Reaper and a lot of different platforms. So I think we can at least try to do something like that, like some little creation, and just kind of put my energy into the creative aspects of it for now. Yeah. And then see what the future holds as far as actually gigging. I mean, I have a bunch of wedding gigs lined up, and every month one says this is postponed till next year, which I'm like, yeah, of course they are. So, which is fine.
I know.
We'll
I
even
think
see.
that's going to be the first thing that comes back, though, is the wedding work, probably on a smaller scale, because I think a lot of people are coming to that point where they're like, well, our 300-person wedding is now going to be 15 people, but we still want an entertainment element to it, and
right.
bring a soloist or duo or something like that.
Right. That will. Well, I mean, the casino gigs have actually come back.
Yeah.
It's whether you're comfortable doing them. I was offered 2 gigs in June, which I did pass on them just because I personally was kind of like, that's maybe the last place I'd like to be right now with this uncertainty. So that was a personal choice. I don't judge anybody because I've got, I see tons of people that I know in the music world posting that they're doing their gigs, and if they're okay with it, that's their prerogative. Yeah. But it was just a choice I made that I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling that right at the moment. Yeah. So, I guess work is coming back for some people in certain areas, just kind of depending on how you feel about it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No judgment. I mean, when gigging is your life and your income, people are going to choose what is right for them and what they need to do and how they're going to take care of themselves and their family. So I'm fully with you on that. It's a personal choice for everybody. I had someone ask in the comments, Lori Tarango, she was asking if all the singers on this show are local, and not necessarily. I mean, it's been mostly local singers just because that's who's in my personal friend circle. Right. But we've had Carol Hatchett, who's out in LA, and I am, happy to branch out, to anybody who wants to come on and kind of talk about their professional singing life. Speaking of local, though, you are part of Ladybrain, and I wish this was something that I actually knew more about, and I'm sorry to say that I don't, but can you tell me what it's all about?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's so cool. So actually, if you're for people that are interested, go on Facebook and look up Ladybrain. Or you can go to ladybrain.com to find out more about it. But it was founded by Lindsay White, who's also a local singer-songwriter, along with Catherine Beeks, who is also a local singer-songwriter, who've been immersed in the, part of San Diego for, I don't know, last 15, 20 years, both of them. Yeah. And I think Lindsay kind of had a vision that she wanted to do something that, because women have this ability to lift each other up or be, incredibly competitive and tear each other down too. So I think she wanted to create something where, you know, artists came together and really empowered each other, lifted each other up, and had this whole network. So it's not just musicians. There are a lot of musicians, singer-songwriters, and part of it because there are so many in San Diego, and that's a big part of her community. But there's a lot of visual artists, performer, you know, spoken word, photography, art, you know, everything you can kind of imagine. But it's just become a really neat thing. The first thing that we did last year, just about a month ago this time, was the Ladybrain Festival, which was so cool. And that really pushed me because I got a little like 3-song slot to perform originals and play guitar, which was petrified about it. And I was like, I'm threw myself in the fire, and I hadn't even written the songs at that point. So I was like, I'm just gonna do this. And did it go perfectly? No, I messed up a little bit, but I did it. And my friend Heather Marie and I also did a little news segment where we played a song we wrote together. So really like pushed myself, and it was so neat. And that was all because of Ladybrain. And that was such a cool festival. So it's a shame that we weren't able to do that this year. They did do a film festival in Lure. They're working on that. So so hopefully that kind of gives you a little, you know, I'm explaining it somewhat well, but I would encourage you to go check out the website. And Danielle, you should definitely be a Ladybrain. You are. So we need to make you part of that group. Because there's also a lot of really neat people in that group that I think you would enjoy interviewing as well. So
yeah, definitely. I would love to do that. I'll definitely be checking it out.
Okay.
Because I see everything that's been posted in social media, and I'm always curious, like, what is that? But
right, yeah,
definitely look into it. So it's you have these events like a festival, but is it something that's kind of just a community of people that have come together and you just collaborate? Is it something where you're meeting together, or just kind of
well, so there actually have been specific things where they've brought in you know, speakers on different topics that people might be interested in, like, you know, setting up your home recording studio, or you know, presenting yourself, like, you know, how to, I guess, you know, media platforms, and how to different topics like that. So at first we had like a monthly meeting, and it was a membership thing. So now there is, I believe there's a membership fee, like an annual kind of thing to help support the group. But right as we were getting started, it was, you know, kind of people in this immediate community to kind of launch it. And now it's grown a bit. But yeah, we were having these weekly, or not weekly, but monthly meetups at different places, hosted by different people. They even had, I think, one that was like about songwriting. There's some other things that I like. Carissa was on it and did like a thing. I'm trying to think of other people, but yeah, we've just done some you know, different things that kind of help us along in our careers, and also supporting and meeting each other. So it's kind of there to, I guess, educate and uplift and network.
cool. I love it. That's right.
Yeah.
Right up my alley.
Yeah. Get you in there.
So you, as far as like performing goes, obviously they're not performing at the moment. But since this has all gone down, you've done a couple of live stream performances. Right?
Yeah, I did. Well, yeah, I guess I've done 2 technically. The first one was part of the Ladybrain. It was just I think there was about 4 of us on it. And so we all had like 20-minute segments. And it was really neat. It was really neat to see the other Ladybrains. And then it was neat I've never done a live stream before. I know a lot of people and other musicians will even like live stream, you know, a gig that they're at, but I've never been that brave, because I'm like, oh, people are gonna see every single thing I do or whatever. So it was neat to be a part of it. It was neat to have the you know, see your friends on there, especially it was I want to say it was in late March or early April. I'm not sure, but it was definitely when everybody was feeling this isolation pretty intensely. Like we were locked down. You know, now I'm like, I don't know who's staying home and what people are going out. It's all a little all over the place. But at that particular point in time, I think everybody was like really staying at home. So we felt really isolated from each other. So it was so cool to have, see your friends on there, say something, and get that kind of interaction that you might have been missing from like a live show, and all from the comfort of your own living room. You don't have to wear uncomfortable shoes, and had a whole different so that was neat. And
or anything like that.
Not right. Yeah, so only have to worry about this part, actually kind of cool. And then my friends that wouldn't normally come out because they're busy, I have a lot of friends with kids because I have a kid, so can't always get out to gigs. So that made it really easy for them. Yeah. Just stay in their living room.
How did you feel about the live stream experience?
Well, I enjoyed it more than I expected to. Like I was at first I was nervous about it, just like everything. And then once you kind of relax into it and you see people are there with you, it actually felt a lot more natural than I expected it to. And we really should just do it again sometime. But, I don't know, for whatever weird reason, I haven't gotten the nerve to work up a set and do it again. But I did enjoy the fact that, in the cover bands, it's fun because the crowd is there and they love to dance, but you have that responsibility of like, and it's your choice as a performer to do what you want, but you also thrive off of the energy that the audience is giving you. So if you play the songs they like, they're going to dance. It makes the whole night just more fun. Where with this, it was, about kind of, I chose songs that just were really meaningful to me, that I connected with, that were kind of maybe more mellow, down tempo. And so I enjoyed that a lot. I got a lot out of that.
Yeah. What I think is so cool about it is that it's really, I just think it's a change of culture. It's a change of culture with the generational change. I think I'm coming from a place where as musicians we want to be like really polished and put your very, very best product forward, and with as little of flaws showing as possible, which there's definitely nothing wrong with that. But I think where we're at now with the younger generation, and I really applaud them for this, they have this fearlessness to go on and do a lot of these live streams. And they've got Snapchat, TikTok, all of these things where the premise is just kind of doing these spontaneous, imperfect performances or messages and stuff. And I think that's something I'm like wanting to get more comfortable with. I haven't done a live stream since all this happened, and just I think I'm working up to it and definitely want to do it. But you have to kind of like show this vulnerability side of you that we're not really accustomed to doing that in the live band scene. You have a crowd to play to, and there is this, it's just not, it's a different animal.
It is. There's like background noise. There's distractions, where it's like, they hear every single note that you play, or every, Yeah. Now, if you do it, will you have your husband play guitar too?
Yeah, maybe if he's
that would be cool.
Sure. I've thought about asking Mark from the band if he wanted to do something. I know he would probably be down to do that. But yeah, I'm open to doing anything, I guess. Well, I shouldn't say I'm not open to doing anything because I haven't done it yet.
Right. But, getting that together. I know, well, what I found too that was neat about it is, especially then, because I think at that point we were all kind of like, what are we doing? Like I was drinking more wine and staying up late and baking a lot of bread. And I didn't really have any like goals or anything to work on. So it gave me this like, and that was only my choice, we all decide what we're going to do, but kind of gave me like incentive, like this is what I'm going to work on something. I have something to work towards. And so it did that for me. Now that we're kind of in a different phase of COVID, I've changed my lifestyle around a bit. So earlier to bed, less wine. But yeah, that was neat. It gave me something, and it felt good to kind of wake up and be like, oh, I need to work on this, this little set that I'm going to put together.
I know I was really, I had promised myself that I was going to really, really dive into the piano and really do it this time. Sure. and get serious with it, which I have stopped and started several times, and I'm trying. I'm still working on it, still trying to get better at it.
Well, at least you started though, right? And you keep starting. It's better than not doing it at all.
Right. I guess so.
Mm.
I've gotten further. I should say that since quarantine, I've gotten a lot further than I have in the past several years, you know, having not
Right.
just grossly neglected that side of musicianship. But
Yeah, same here.
I wanted to take a second just to do a couple shout outs. So we can say hi to everybody. We've got Melissa Goulet. She's a family member. Kay Beth Pumphrey Vietti is watching. Lori Tarango, Chuck Tucker. I know that guy. Um, Amy Durbin, Chuck Phillips. Hey, Chuck Phillips. Thank you for the note. I know I'm having to work on my mic volume, but thank you so much for doing this with me. I really, really
Oh,
appreciate you taking the time and being willing to do it. I have just, I've loved so, so much getting to talk to all the singers. It's just, it's not something that we get the opportunity to do a lot. I mean, the only chance that I have of running into you is, you know, maybe doing a seaside service
yeah,
like that, which
right.
I always love seeing you there.
Yeah, same.
So it's a fun opportunity. And before we go, where can people go to see your music or at least connect with you on
Well,
social media?
so this is a little embarrassing, but my website is down right now. There was a little mess up with the domain, so don't go to Rosy Dawn Music right now, but go to Rosy Dawn Music on Facebook because that is there. And Reverb Nation, I've got a thing on there. I've got a SoundCloud as well, but hopefully the website will be back to normal soon. There's just a little hiccup with the domain that got overlooked because of COVID. On my part, it's my fault, but I didn't realize. But thank you for having me, and thanks for doing this. This is like, you know, we're talking about kind of reinventing ourselves and doing different things, and you're obviously like a great example of that by doing this and reaching out and including us. Also, thank you for including me with such a great lineup of all of the fabulous singers that you've had so far.
Thank you. Well, you're awesome. I'm so happy
Thanks.
to have you.
Thank you.
I will definitely put links to your social media. I'm gonna check out ladybrain.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll try to stay connected. And
Yes.
thank you to everybody who watched tonight. Hope everybody is well, and you'll keep watching. I'm gonna keep doing this as long as singers keep saying yes to coming on. So hope that it's been uplifting and encouraging for you. And I guess we'll say goodnight for now.
Sounds good. Have a wonderful night, and thanks again. Okay.
All right. See you soon.
Okay, bye.